Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
Recording, Chair.
Thank you, Town Clerk. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's F&GP meeting, and I'll start this meeting at 7 o'clock. Just to advise members, this meeting is being recorded. The recording will appear on the Council's website in a few days. In order to vote, councillors are asked to show their hand to the camera and hold it up until advised by the chair. To indicate that you wish to speak during any item, please use the raise hand button on the Zoom functions. It is in different places depending on your device. Generally, if you click on the participants, it will appear on the bottom of the panel on the right, but please locate it and use it to be recognised. This does help myself and my vice chair. Thank you. We don't have any members of the public, Town Clerk.
We have two councillors with us, County Councillor Mr Jackie Russell and District Councillor Norman Webster. Neither have indicated they wish to speak, but they are here in capacities of members of the public.
Okay, thank you. So we have no members of the public. So I will go to item 2 on the agenda, and that is apologies for absence.
Apologies from Councillor Mrs Belsey.
Okay, thank you for that, Town Clerk. Item 3 on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 18th of June 2020. I'll take it members have read those minutes. Do I have any questions, or can we take those as read?
Agree.
Agree. Hands up on the screen, please, if you agree. That looks like unanimous.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just take you back to the apologies? We do need to approve the absence of Mrs Belsey, which is that she's away, she's on holiday.
Okay, well, I'll take that approved. Is that approved by members?
You need to vote on it, so if you could propose second and vote, please.
Thank you.
That's lovely, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Item 4 on the agenda is to receive any declarations of interest. If there is any, please can you indicate? Thank you. Looking at the screen, I have none.
No, you do, Chairman. You've got a couple of personals, I think. Councillor Belsey?
Thank you, Town Clerk. Thank you, Leader. Yeah, I'd like to declare a personal interest as Chair of Age UK, just in respect of the grant confirmation position. Thank you.
Councillor DeBell.
Thank you, Chair. We are discussing a Royal British Legion matter this evening, and I would need you to know that I'm a member of the Royal British Legion.
And you only need to declare that if you're a member of the committee and therefore hold a position of influence. Otherwise, being a member is fine.
Thank you very much.
You've also got Councillor Mrs Mockford.
Councillor Mrs Mockford, you have an interest.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to declare the interest that I am the Chairman of East Grinstead in Bloom, which will come up at a later date in the evening.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll take it we have no more.
No, Chairman.
No, thank you. Item 5 on the agenda is Chairman's announcements. I have none. Item 6 on the agenda is to receive the accounts for June, July and August 2020. And as Mr Chambers has very kindly joined us tonight, I will pass that over to him to give us an update or a review. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, the total payments for the months of June, July and August were totaled £333,233. The payments are all, as usual, as detailed in Appendix A. If any members do have any questions, I'll, of course, the officers will do our best to answer those. I have, however, had 7 questions submitted to me today in advance of the meeting, all from Councillor Amos. So I'll just go through Councillor Amos's questions and provide answers to his questions, if that's okay. First question received from Councillor Amos was, why was £202.61 spent on 2 no-contact thermometers, which in Claire's catalogue only cost £45 each, and on Amazon cost as little as £6.65? The answer to that is that the reason the 2 thermometers were purchased is they're used to take the temperatures of all wedding guests using the East Court estate, and this process is as set out in the council's risk assessment. The net price of the 2 thermometers was £169. Although the thermometers are now available at a cheaper rate, at the time of purchase, such items were obviously in extremely high demand, hence the higher cost. We also knew that we would be able to get next day delivery on those items. And yes, there are indeed, Councillor Amos is correct, there are indeed thermometers available from Amazon for £6.65, although these are shipped from China and have an estimated delivery time of 6 weeks. The second question that I received was from Councillor Amos, and Councillor Amos asked, may I have a breakdown of the £260.28 of expenditure on various office stationery purchased on the 17th and 31st of July? So the net amount of the various stationery items to which Councillor Amos has referred was £216.90. The breakdown of the various items of stationery is as follows: 1 week-to-week diary, 3 black staplers, 1 pack of 5,000 staples, 3 packs of AA batteries, 1 4-hole puncher, 2 2-hole punchers, 1 2-ounce Parker blue ink bottle for the signing of official documents, 3 packs of 2,500 sheets of A4 paper, 3 A4 laminating pouches, and 2 white multi-purpose label sheets. So I hope that helps to provide the breakdown of the various office stationery. The third question was, how many hours labour did Holly Tree surgeons provide for the £2,940, and what type of work did they do? Unfortunately, Holly Tree's invoices don't detail their hourly rate, and also I've been unable to check this with the estates manager as she is currently on annual leave. With regards to the type of work that they did, the invoice states various tree surgery works carried out as requested at Mount Noddy, including but not limited to the removal of dead conifers, a stump ground out, a cherry tree removed, a tree stump ground down, and tree debris removed. The next question received was, does East Grinstead Town Council really need air conditioning and the £903 maintenance bill? Most workplaces do not have such air conditioning. The only air conditioning that the Town Council has is that which is in Meridian Hall. During the summer months, under normal circumstances, the Meridian Hall is obviously used on a regular basis, with many when many hirers book the hall, they do ask the bookings and functions administrator if the hall has aircon. The maintenance bill is an annual bill for the servicing of the aircon, and if an aircon isn't serviced, it can of course get clogged up with bacteria, dust and dirt, which could potentially lead to health issues, especially for those with existing conditions such as asthma. The next question received was, may I have the details of the flagpole purchased on the 28th of August for £745.44? Yes, the flagpole is the flagpole which stands on top of East Court Mansion. The original pole was unfortunately broke and therefore obviously had to be replaced. The details of the new pole are, it is 7-metre high glass fibre wall mounted flagpole with 120 millimetres diameter at the base and a 65 millimetre diameter at the top. The next question was, why was £665 spent on website support which has not visually improved in my view. £665 has so far been spent on the website support as a result of the new legislation which was issued, which of course the Town Council has to comply with. The legislation is principally regarding requirements around accessibility. The works to the new website were allowed for in this year's budget, hence its increase, although thanks to the Assistant Town Clerk's works, the website works will definitely come in considerably under budget. And the final question, just to finish off, from Councillor Amos was, the campaign initiatives budget has been overspent to the tune of 69%. How has this been allowed to occur, and does it not violate the council's allocation given in the budget? Although on the face of the accounts it shows that the campaign initiative budget is overspent, in reality the original budget of £1,000 hasn't actually been used at all. This is because of the new financial requirements that are now in place for the 2021 financial year. In previous years, income and expenditure could be netted off, offset against each other. But in order for the council to be able to show a true and fair and accurate representation of their finances in the annual accounting statement, expenditure and income has to be shown completely separately. The council has already received grants and donations which more than cover the cost of this expenditure that is showing in the campaign initiatives line. And those donations were specifically for these the items of expenditure that are in the campaign initiatives line. Hopefully that answers all those questions. I don't know if any councillors have any more questions.
I just want to say thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chambers. Yes, if members have got any questions on this report, Councillor de Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councillor Amos, as far as I know, is not a member of this committee. Therefore, can I suggest that such questions as he rightfully wishes to ask need not be answered during a session of this committee, but could be made known to us if he asks the questions as a councillor of Mr. Chambers, and rather than take up Mr. Chambers' time during the meeting reading out these answers to personal questions from a councillor, that they are dealt with in camera, so to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor de Bell. Town Clerk, do you want to respond to that? Because I know Councillor Amos, as anyone has the right to ask the Chairman's permission to ask a question. Councillor Amos has indicated he wished to speak and submitted the questions in advance. So that is something I would do to any members that are not in this committee. He did ask quite a few questions tonight, and they've been adequately answered by Mr. Chambers. So in actual fact, Councillor Amos has got his answers. So Town Clerk, did you want to add anything?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, just to confirm that our standing orders do say that non-committee members are entitled to attend any committee. They may only speak with the permission of the Chairman, and Councillor Amos in this instance did submit his questions in advance, saying that he'd like to attend and ask the questions. Because there were a number, Mr. Chambers thought it might be easier just to offer to answer them in one go rather than ask the councillor to ask his questions first. So we haven't breached any protocol whatsoever. Councillor Amos is absolutely fine with that. I do, however, echo, I think the point that Councillor Fellow is getting to is that if you have a lot of questions, obviously if they can be submitted in advance, we can respond to them in advance, and if there's any particular point that you then want to bring up to the committee, you can do on the night. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with the way that Councillor Amos request his questions. I would much rather, as I've said time and time again, have the questions in advance so we can give you an answer at the committee or outside of the committee if at all possible. But there's no protocol problems here at all.
Okay, thank you, Town Clerk. Do members have any other questions on this item? I see no hands up. So I would like to propose that we receive the accounts. May I have a second, please?
Seconded, Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair. All those in favour? Looks unanimous, Chairman. Thank you. Town Clerk, sorry, I'm the Chairman. I forgot about that. Item 7 on the agenda is the Town Council Finances Position Statement. Members are asked to note that the balances on the various Town Council accounts at 31st of August 2020 total £1,013,025, and that the monthly current account and business reserve account reconciliations are shown on a separate PDF document titled Appendix D. I'll hand over to Mr. Chambers if you want to comment on that or give some more information, please.
I don't have much more to add, thanks, Chair, other than to say, yeah, the total balances at the end of August of the council's accounts, as you quite rightly say, were £1,013,025, which is just £7,000 odd pounds, £7,500 less than at the same point in time last year. The full income and expenditure report is attached and is shown as a separate PDF document titled Appendix C. The year-to-date income, excluding the precept, is 76,155, which is 24% of the total budgeted income for the year. Obviously, at the end of August, we are 5 months through the year, so we would, in an ideal world, that figure, the 24% figure, would be around sort of the 41-42% mark. Our income has taken a hit for obvious reasons. The year-to-date expenditure totals 478,000, which equates to 36% of the annual budgeted expenditure figure of 1,330,000. At the moment, we are showing a surplus, but of course, as the year progresses, I am forecasting at the moment that the end of the year will produce a deficit of around 44,000. Although, I mean, that figure can almost change on a weekly basis, depending on the current situation. Again, of course, as the year progresses, when we have December's F&GP, I will be able to give the council a more accurate position of where we are. And obviously, as the months progress, as we get closer to the year end, we'll have a much better picture of where we are. But briefly, what makes up the 44,000 deficit is I'm forecasting, and I stress at the moment, income to come in at 117,000 less than budgeted for. Of course, the majority of that is for the majority is the Meridian Hall, hires in the Meridian Hall, the weddings and such like. Although we're forecasting that will be offset by reduction in expenditure coming in below budget at 73,000, the net of the two being the 44,000 deficit. I mean, the 73,000 expenditure, which I'm forecasting to come in lower than anticipated, is a lot of that will be things such as summer events, for example, which has got a budget of around 15,500, which of course hasn't taken place this year. Street planting has been massively reduced this year. So there are some lines where we are almost without a choice, we've had to scale back the expenditure this year. The 44,000 deficit that I'm forecasting would result in a general reserve balance at the end of the year of 334,000. The general reserve balance is currently 378,000. So if it does finish with a balance of 334,000, that equates to 4 months of our net revenue expenditure. In other words, the precept, based on the current year's precept, that is. There is a table on the report which details cost centre by cost centre and just how each cost centre is doing. I can provide more details on that if any councillors would like me to, but it's relatively self-explanatory. Other than that, I have nothing else to add on that one. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chambers. Do I have any members, any questions from members to Mr. Chambers?
I think Councillor Osborne is indicating.
If Councillor Osborne could use his raise hand function, that would help the chair and vice chair, then we could see you.
Oh, I have both up, actually.
If you go to participants and raise your hand, that would be most helpful.
Leg up as well, if it helps. Yeah, I think it would be perverse to say that that was a satisfactory situation, but all in all, I think that the report we just heard reflects on the good financial management of the council. There's no doubt that things could be a hell of a lot worse, and I think if you look around the country, you probably find a lot of councils similar to us have not managed their finances as well as us and are not in such a strong position. As I say, it's not a good state of affairs, but under the circumstances, I think we can be reasonably satisfied that we've dealt with the matters in the past and presently well. And I would like to thank Mr. Chambers for his report and for the work he does for the council in looking after our financial affairs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Osborne. Do we have any other questions? I see no hands up at the moment. So this report is for noting. Is that noted? Can we have a show of hands, please?
Noted.
Chairman, just before you move on, just for Councillor Osborne and the rest of the committee's information, I am aware of a large town council not too far away from us, not quite in the same county, it's in East Sussex, who are exceptionally close to bankruptcy and they are having to close their doors. So yes, thank you very much for the comments. Clearly the policies of this council have been to ensure that we did have the money put away for a rainy day, and it is bucketing.
Thank you. Well done.
Okay, thank you. We move on to item 8 on the agenda, and that is performance indicators. They are in front of you. Details of performance indicators in respect of responsibilities falling under the purview of finance and general purposes are set out below. The members, any comments? Mr. Chambers would take that. Do members have any questions on that? I think it's fairly self-explanatory. Invoices paid within 30 days. Well, we keep it on top. That's pretty good, I think.
No hands raised so far, Chairman.
Sorry.
No, sorry, Chairman. No hands raised so far.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair. Well, I've got no hands, so this report is for noting. Is this noted?
Yep.
Noted.
That's noted, Town Clerk. Thank you. Item 9 on the agenda is the reserves policy. This is for the council to adopt, and it's been adopted from the NOUT guidelines, which Mr. Chambers has actually put forward to us, and that is on Appendix D. And I think that really gives an explanation of our reserves and what that means and earmarked things. So do I have any questions on that? Well, I've had Councillor Amos. I will let you speak once more on this occasion, Councillor Amos. You're not on video, by the way.
Okay. I would urge against the adoption of this reserves policy because it's not as prudent as our previous reserves policy. Our previous reserves policy, written in 2004, required us to have 6 months of net revenue expenditure, whilst the current proposals being put out are only requiring 3 to 6 months worth. So if we were to adopt this general revenue reserves policy and we were to run it at the low of 3 months, which is quite possible, it's already at 4 months or will be in December, if another crisis like this were to come along, we would be very close to running out of general revenue reserves if we were to spend 2 months of net expenditure as we have so far, or will do running up to December. So I would urge against this imprudent general revenue reserves policy, and I would urge you rather, to keep to the one we've had since 2004, requires 6 to 8 months of net revenue expenditure, and not this one that would put us in a perilous situation if something like this came along again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Amos. Your comments are noted. Right. Do I have any questions from members of the committee?
Councillor Belsey, Chair.
Councillor
Thank you, Chairman. Could I just clarify, in light of Councillor Amos's comments, my understanding is that the proposed reserves is in line with the sector good policy for reserves holding. Perhaps it might be helpful just we could get some clarification on that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Yeah, so the current guidelines which have changed reasonably considerably, to the best of my knowledge, since as long ago as 2004, are that, I mean, there are no set minimums and maximums by law, but yes, the overall guidelines are 3 to 12 months. However, those guidelines, the latest advice from our internal auditor, who I have spoken to at length regarding this policy, is that for councils of our size, being a larger town council, they certainly are of the opinion we should absolutely have no more than 6 months in reserves. And they say that the best practice is for that amount to be somewhere in the region of 3 to 6 months. Absolutely, they wouldn't want to see it dip below 3, of course. Don't think anybody would, but equally they wouldn't want it to see it go over 6 months. We're currently, as I said earlier, we do have exactly 4.5 months as a reserve. So we are smack bang in the middle of that 3 to 6 month target. Even with this current situation this year with COVID, I am only forecasting that the reserves will go down, yes, but they'll go down to exactly 4 months. So given the impact on our finances this year, we are essentially losing half a month. So it would take us at least another, if the situation carried on with COVID, for another 2.5 years. That's basically how long it would take us to get down to the 3-month level of reserves.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers. Do I have any more questions from members? I see no hands raised. Okay, I would like to propose this policy. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second, Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair. All those in favour? That's agreed, Town Clerk. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. We move on to item 10, and that's recommendations from committees. I have 3. The recommendation from Public Services, minutes 95, 10th, 9, 20, is to recommend that Finance and General Purposes Committee confirm that a keepsake gift be purchased for the East Grinstead Emergency Action Group volunteers, expenditure to be met from the East Grinstead Emergency Action Group funds. I'll read all 3, then we can take questions if necessary. We have a recommendation from the Amenities and Tourism Committee, minutes 118, 17th of the 10th, 20, and that's to recommend to the Finance and General Purposes Committee approve the East Court Buildings hire charges for 2021 and 22 as set out in Appendix A of the Amenities and Tourism Committee report. We'll also have another one from Amenities and Tourism, and that's minute number 113, 17th of the 10th, 20, that the Finance and General Purposes Committee are asked to support the replacement of the East Court playground equipment as part of the budget discussion starting in October. Do I have any questions on any of those recommendations? No, okay, so I'll propose to take all three on block. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second, Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Can we have a show of hands to approve that then, please? That's approved, Town Clerk. Item 11 on the agenda is delegated decisions. There have been none this quarter. Item 12 is the staff salaries, cost of living rise. Now, the council has signed up to the NJC salary scales, and the cost of living rise, which is normally negotiated, is therefore applied to all salaries. So you can see in the report there, there's not really much we can do to decide that. It's already been decided by unison. So this report is really just for noting. Do you have any questions from members? No, no committee members. So can we note that, members?
Noted.
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 Thank you, Town Clerk, that is noted. Right, yeah, when we come to this item 13, you will have noted that it skips on the agenda. On the report, it is different to the agenda. So on the report, agenda is, you'll see there's two item 12s. So the community grants is actually 13. So just save a bit confusion. There's a bit of an error on that. Right, the grants were allocated in the budget are shown in the table. The only one in the earmarked one, which is the top box, is so far has been East in Bloom. And just to remind members, we don't release grants until we've actually seen the accounts. The other grants in the bottom box, we budget £4,000 for those organisations that wish to apply. And as you can see there, there's a mistake at the bottom. East Grinstead Museum have put in twice, so we can rule that one out. And there, the other four are the only ones that are put into that grant, and that is comes to about £1,400 odd pound, I believe. So need to.
Chairman, if I can just explain the museum in case anyone's a bit confused there. They submitted an application with the revenue grant paperwork, so therefore it was added to the community grants list. However, I noticed it was exactly the same amount of money as the standard grant, which is allocated in the budget. So I did speak to them this week, and they confirmed actually all they were doing was sending in their paperwork to apply for the release of their grant, which is why they are not to be considered tonight for any additional money. They have made their application for the 3.5.
So, yeah, thank you, Town Clerk. So there although is a budget of £4,000, the total applications so far £35. The balance, I suggest there's an underspend, and we take that back. It'll probably be similar to the earmark grants, those that obviously can't do the things they normally do with their grants, and they don't apply. That will be taken back this year. So they're the recommendations. Is there any questions on that? No. So can we agree those recommendations?
I don't think you've got a second yet, Chair.
Oh, sorry.
I'm happy to speak to that, Chairman.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. Yeah, excuse me, I've got paperwork coming out my ears here. Right, we go to agenda item 14, which is the Economic Working Group. And I'm going to pass over to Councillor Matthews as chairman of that group to give a brief update.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, the Development Working Group met again on the 20th of August. And after much discussion, it was decided that the draft plan would need to be updated again. And this with the East Grinstead Master Plan of 2008. The salient points would be extrapolated and collected into an updated draft development plan. This will be considered at the next working group meeting in November. We also considered the following report on green issues by Chloe Tonkin. Back to you, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Matthews. I'll take it members have read the report. I'm not going to go through it, so I'll ask if members got questions. Do we have any questions at the moment from members?
I can't see any so far, Chairman.
I think.
Oh, Councillor Belsey and Councillor Whitaker. Sorry, Chairman.
Yeah, Councillor Whitaker was first, was he?
I think he was. Yeah, just.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, thank you for the report. And whilst I acknowledge the great aspirations of the report, can I ask what costings have been done on this? Because it's all very well to make good pledges for a greener agenda, but we need to know the potential cost implications in the short, medium and long term, please. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Whitaker. Yeah, well, we haven't got into the costs. If you look at the recommendations, I'm going a bit ahead now. On A, the committee are recommended to approve that further work be carried out on environment considerations and a working group set up so we can look at what we can do and the costings involved. So I will be asking for a working group, that the committee recommend that a working group be set up specifically to look at how we can be more environmentally friendly. I hope that answers your question. Do we have any other people wishing to speak?
Councillor Belsey, I believe, Chairman.
Councillor Belsey.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, it's really just to confirm. I think Councillor Matthews said that obviously his working group had already looked at the Chloe Tonkins report, which is on sort of potential improvements for producing a more environmentally friendly town council than East Grinstead, which I very much welcome. And I do welcome as well the I'm not quite clear if it's a new working group or whether it might be that working group looks at the environmental considerations. But I just want to say I wholeheartedly approve of us having a specific working group which has within its remit environmental considerations. And if I may, I think some of the specific actions in the report are really good, and I would just urge working group and ourselves as a council to focus on things that we can actually change and influence ourselves rather than tie ourselves into things that we can't influence. I know there's discussion about carbon neutral by 2030 and the climate change emergency. I'm happy for everything to be considered, but I would just far rather our objectives be focused on things we can influence ourselves. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor DeBell.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think I'm kind of echoing some of the concerns that have already been raised. I mean, I recognise that the government have made these sort of directives about zero emissions by 2050, but when it comes down to local council position, is this a directive from the government as well? It makes such statements as a lot of buzz and topical initiatives. Some councils are rushed to be seen doing something, and it goes on to actually talk about climate emergency. What is a climate emergency? It's kind of saying this is fact, when in actual fact, our scientists seem to be a bit divided on this. So are we, by saying that we accept this, are we actually having to embrace it by the government telling us we've got to embrace it, or are we actually going on to take this as our local council position? It says by declaring a climate emergency, the council would be acknowledging global warming is influenced by direct action. But we know it is, for crying out loud. I mean, whatever we do on this planet nowadays, there's so many of us, it is going to cause changes. But are we actually saying that as a council, we fully concur that we are declaring as a council a climate emergency? I can see the town clerk jumping around. It looks like she's wanting to say something too. Thank you very much, Chair.
Councillor Matthews.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to follow on from Councillor Belsey regarding the working group, you see in the recommendation on A, the last line, it says, while noting the steps taken so far and a working group to be set up. So it will be a new working group.
Thank you, Councillor Matthews. Yes, I'll just reiterate this. I think we all need to lead the way in being environmentally friendly. So we do need to look at things. Nothing has been decided. We certainly need to look at the costs, future costs involved, and look at budgeting for those if necessary. Hence, in the recommendations, a working group will be set up to look at the options that are in the report there, and what Chloe Tompkin has written. She was a student, and you can see what some of her measures were. So the working group could look into a whole raft of things, what this town council could do in future, and if necessary, work out the costings as Councillor Whitaker brought up. And also on B, whether we wish to declare a climate emergency, I would recommend that we defer that until to a later date. But do I have any other questions from members?
Councillor DeBell, Deputy Mayor, has raised his hand.
Councillor DeBell.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much, Chairman, for allowing me to come back. I kind of see what you're saying, that we need to look at this because the government have placed, you know, quite an important target on it. But it says here, for instance, I'd like to know who this Chloe Tonkin is. It says interned at the council in 2018 and spent time observing the office procedures. I can't remember Chloe Tonkin, you know. So there's a lot of stuff in here that it seems to make huge leaps about what we've got to accept and what we haven't got to accept. I'm very cautious about this, Mr. Chairman. So yeah, I'd really like some clarity on it a little bit more for now.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Bear. Yeah, Chloe Tompkin was a student, and I think she was, the town clerk will correct me, she's doing it for a degree or whatever. And she asked to come to the town council to look at how we could save on energy. And what you see there is what she come up with. Is something that we don't have to adopt. That was her ideas. So maybe we could look at some of those in the future, but it's not set in stone that we're going to adopt them. This is for the working group to actually look into all those things, what Chloe Tompkin has said, other issues that might come up, bring it back to committee and look at ways. It may not always be possible through costing, especially in this climate. Councillor Whitaker.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, just to pick up a point that I raised earlier, and Councillor Bell, just to give an example. Chequermead Theatre, 18 months ago, we installed over 200 square metres of photovoltaic panels on the flat roof of the theatre. Nobody knows they're there because nobody can see them, but they're there, and they considerably increase the green envelope of the theatre. As we know, that the building is owned freehold by the town council. So we in actual fact, we've already started this process. But with East Court, if this is the road we're going down, and I agree we should, in principle, subject to costings and being realistic, East Court would present some quite significant challenges to comply with the sort of the greener envelopes. But we've already started this at Chequermead. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Whitaker.
Chairman, can I come in, please?
Yeah, sorry, Town Clerk. I meant to bring.
I just feel we've lost a bit of context, and perhaps I just need to. There's some excellent points made, but I've obviously misled you in the report. So let me take a couple of steps back. Right, the report, as you in your papers, the report on pages 4 and 5 is not written by Chloe Tonkin. It's written by me. The papers in the back of the report, the appendix, that is the work that Chloe Tonkin did with regards to making some suggestions and ideas and things that perhaps the council could do. And if you particularly look at the page of the report where she's got her green, amber, red, those were her observations. She came in, as the chairman said quite rightly, she was doing her university degree. She came in, she wanted to look at, to have a study, what could she suggest we do, or so what could we consider doing, which would be more green. And there certainly have been a lot of comments that have come out of councillors over the past year, suggestions around litter bins, recycling, etc. For a number of years, we've been very mindful of things that we've done. For example, we do all the recycling at East Court Live. We separate the recycling from the rubbish. We've been doing a lot of that. We've been doing food waste recycling at the council for a number of years, but it's all very low key. And we also do a lot of things to do with composting and what have you. So there's a lot of good things we're doing. And Councillor Whitaker points out that the steps that Chequermead have made. Absolutely. We're taking these steps. We're taking these steps without a strategy. And what I wanted to do was to bring to you to say there's a lot going on, and there's been quite a bit of pressure at our level in various other councils with regards to declaring a climate emergency. I 100% agree with Councillor Debell. I don't know what a climate emergency is, because no matter how much research I do, I can't seem to find a definition of that. But it does seem to suggest if you declare, which is all you would be doing, is we would declare a climate emergency. By declaring that, you have acknowledged that there's a problem which needs to be addressed, and we will do our part. And what that part is then to be determined and developed by the council ongoing. These are just a few ideas. These were just some things that are happening in other councils. I've done a bit of research around other councils. These are some things that are happening at our level, not just county and district. Things that are happening in other places, various ideas that we've already floated. We've already talked about the idea of our fleet becoming an electric fleet, or at least part electric. That costs a lot of money. So all these things have to be budgeted, but they have to actually come forth first to be agreed that this is the policy of the road we're going down. Sad to say, green tends to be the more expensive option. Of course, other people would say, but it's the least expensive when you look at the alternative. I'm not making an opinion either which way. What I'm just trying to say is that if you want the council to go down the road of being more green, if you want us to look at having environmental policies, there will be a cost attached to it. What that cost is, I have no idea until we do a lot more work. But what I was looking for at this point is some type of indication as to whether the council wants to go further down this road. If you'd like to set up a working party to do this and to come up with the ideas of what we would be going forward, rather than perhaps the piecemeal falling into it by doing the odd thing here, the odd project there, this would actually be a proper strategy that we would be going forward. So that's the purpose of bringing the paper to the committee this time round. So the pages in the actual report are written by me, not Chloe, but Chloe's work is what was included in the appendix at the back, which is what she had been doing. And these were just ideas. These were just things to start you thinking. And where do you want to go with this, so that the officers know whether we're to spend more time on it, whether you want us to look to being more sustainable, more environmentally friendly with everything that we do. So that's all it is, Chairman. I do hope that helps, and I apologise if there was confusion.
Thank you very much indeed. Thanks for the clarity and thanks for explaining that, and also to Councillor Whittaker. That's very, very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Town Clerk. Well, I hope members that are okay with that. Do I have
my hand is on?
Sorry?
Councillor Osborne.
Sorry, yeah, your hand's not up on the screen, so.
It was up earlier, so I don't know how long I have to keep it up for, really.
No, oh, well, yeah, okay, carry on.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I welcome this report. I think it's I think it's timely. I think it's appropriate. And of course, we wouldn't be able to carry out all these things straight away, but I think they're good suggestions. And I think this Chloe Tonkin, never met her, but I think she's done a good job. And I think the clerk is going down the right road and bringing this to our attention. There's quite can't control, but I think we should make an honest attempt at the things we can contribute. For example, it always annoys me that they recycle beer bottles. Why aren't they washed out and like in the old days? Milk bottles. It said tons of plastic milk bottles thrown away. There was a time when milk bottles were washed out and used 100 times or more. I mean, we've lost the plot on lots of this because it's more convenient and because it's easier for manufacturers and it's easier for supermarkets. If you go to Germany, 20 years ago, they had a system where everybody bought a crate of beer and they took the empties back in the crate and picked up a new crate. I mean, why the hell aren't we doing things like that? We're way behind a lot of things, but we can't, as a town council, influence that. But we can do the small things and we can gradually build up. And I think amongst these suggestions here, there's plenty that I would support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Osborne. I take it, so we've got no more questions. So I'll go to the recommendations. On recommendation B, I would advise that we defer a climate change. I don't think it's in our interest to declare a climate emergency at this moment in time. So without reading those out, are they, do I have to propose that, Town Clerk?
You'll need to propose and you'll need a second, Chair.
Yeah, so I'll propose those recommendations. Do I have a seconder, please?
Yeah, Chairman, can I have clarity, please? Are you actually saying that at this time we're only voting on recommendation A?
And B.
I thought
I didn't make it clear. Okay, I'll read it out. Recommendation A, the committee are recommended to approve that further work be carried out on environmental considerations with a view of adopting a range of measures to reduce the council's carbon footprint, while noting the steps taken so far and a working group to be set up to look into the future considerations of reducing the carbon footprint. Recommendation B is the committee are recommended to consider whether they wish to declare a climate emergency.
Mr. Chairman, I would accept recommendation A, but at this time I would not accept recommendation B.
It's not been seconded yet, so we can't actually discuss this. Chairman, can I just clarify? So you are recommending recommendation A in full, but you did say that you were going to recommend under B that you wish to defer this.
Yeah, so I think I'll take these on each vote. So if we go to recommendation A, Is that agreed by the committee?
I'm happy, Chairman, you haven't had a second yet.
Oh, sorry. Can I have a second on that one?
I'm happy to second that, Chair.
Okay,
Sorry,
thank you. So that is agreed.
Well, you haven't voted. No, you need to vote, Chair.
I thought we had voted. Right,
Okay.
okay.
Vote on recommendation A.
Yes, right. We're getting there in the end.
That's carried.
Okay. Right, we go to recommendation B, and the committee are recommended to consider whether they wish to declare a climate emergency. I would recommend that is deferred. Do I have a seconder for that, please?
I'm happy to second that, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Bisfan. Is that agreed?
Yeah, I'll vote that.
I think that's carried as well. Well done, Chair. Thank you.
Right, we got there in the end. Right, okay. Thank you very much for that. Item 15 on the agenda is Remembrance Sunday. And as you can possibly see in the report, the RBL really want us to take over the organising of the Remembrance Day ceremonies. So that is in the report. I don't know whether the Town Clerk wishes to add any clarification to that, or...
I think this is quite straightforward as per
Yes.
the report, Chairman. The RBL have been told nationally that they cannot organise parades. They may not request a road closure. They have no insurance for it. So they're asking us to take on the organising of the Remembrance Day parades in whatever format they may be. Obviously, they still want to be involved, so it's not a question of them walking away totally, but they're asking us to take the lead. So the risk of any road closure, the risk of any incidents happening in something like the High Street where we've traditionally had it would fall on the Town Council. So it will give us more responsibility, but that's in a nutshell what they're asking.
Okay, members, do we have any questions on that? Councillor Matthews.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I'm a bit bemused with this. The way I read it was that it just needs ensuring, and through you.
We're going to be at least another hour at this. Can I have a...
Councillor de Bell, can you mute yourself, please?
I am so sorry.
And all other councillors, if you can mute if you're not speaking, please. Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Matthews.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, it's thrown me off my stride a little bit. Yeah, I read it that it just needs ensuring the road closures. Through you, Chairman, I'd like to ask the Town Clerk, can't we just do that for one thing? I'm not really happy that we should take over this event because of the cost. And on the last but one paragraph starting, committee may wish to consider the way that the remembrance is organised as a parade. There's one sentence there's possibly to move the parade to a safer venue. I would not be happy with moving the parade at all. I think it's been as it is since the First World War, and I think it would diminish it if we moved it anywhere else. So through you, Chairman, if the Town Clerk could clarify that.
Yes,
Town Clerk, would you like to come in on that?
Yes, there's never any such thing as just. We can't just insure anything. If we insure something, we take responsibility for it, which means we have to risk assess it. Otherwise, our insurers will not take the risk. They won't take the responsibility. So, in order for us to get the insurance, we have to organise it. That's simple. Because we're talking about road closure, because we're talking about, I mean, the last few years, we've taken a much bigger interest. You're very aware, for years and years and years, the Town Council have assisted the RBL by manning the road closure. But to be perfectly honest, for the past 8 or 9 years, I have carried out the risk assessments for them, and I have taken a much bigger responsibility with regards to making sure that things like the enhanced terrorist threat, which was particularly the case a few years ago, that we were really thinking about that a lot more, and we were making sure that the roads were, as far as we could, that where we had the largest number of people gathered, that we had been able to mitigate as much of a risk as possible. So it's not possible for us to say just insure it and carry on as we are. No, that's not possible, because we will. Everything that happens under our insurance becomes our responsibility, down to somebody tripping over a flagstone or a pavement because we haven't risk assessed it properly. And this has been a conversation I've had with the RBL for years, and poor old John absolutely tears his hair out because he knows technically they are responsible if there's a problem in the high street and they haven't thought about it. It's that simple. That's what risk assessments, that's what insurance is all about. It's all perfectly doable. It's been done by the RBL for years. We've been assisting them for a number of years, not a problem. But it does mean that we will take responsibility. It also means that because we're organising it, we're paying for everything. So there's no question of the RBL saying, well, we thought we'd bring in this choir, or we thought we'd do this, or we thought we might do that. Because hang on a minute, what's the risk assessment element of that? What's the cost involved? It's our event. It becomes our event, which means we have to then run it. But with them, of course, with them, but it is a shift of responsibility. So that's really all it is, and I see no reason why it can't continue. And I just threw the comment in to say we did get them to change the parade a couple of years ago because, well, from last year, because the lining up in Little King Street, I would not have wanted to be the responsible person for that insurance. I think that's been an accident waiting to happen for years. And especially when the roads are then closed and the traffic can't get through there, they have to wait. And it's amazing how rude and uncooperative people can be when we're talking about Remembrance Sunday. But unfortunately, we see it every year. So we last year, and also, of course, our lovely friends at the RBL are getting a bit older and they don't necessarily want to have to walk the whole length of London Road. So last year we suggested, and they agreed, that they line up in London Road so that we didn't have to utilise Little King Street, and we didn't have to have the extra problems that one brings. And that makes the whole thing much better. They agreed to that. We were able to move to it. That was great. So that's probably what we'd be looking at doing going forward. But it's an opportunity for us to say, right, there are 2 events, one at East Court, one at the High Street. Do we want to change the way something is done? And that will obviously be done by involving all the people who are involved in the Remembrance Committee. It's far more than just the RBL, and it's certainly far more than just the Town Council. But the Town Council, if we take responsibility, would have the final say. And that is that I suppose is the important bit. We have the final say because we're the ones picking up the tab, and we're the ones who are taking the risk and the responsibility through our insurance. Hope that helps.
Can I come back on that, Chairman?
Yes, then I'll need to go to Councillor. Yeah, carry on. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to come back, Chairman. I do appreciate it. Yeah, thank you for that explanation, Town Clerk. It's very helpful, and I quite understand and support it. And but I still, that last comment of mine regarding the change of location from the High Street, I wouldn't be happy with that. As regards them getting older and walking from Little King Street, I totally understand that, because I can't do it, couldn't do it, wouldn't do it. But thanks for that. It makes sense to go from London Road rather than Little King Street. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Matthews. Councillor Whitaker.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I would echo the Town Clerk. Thank you for giving that very good contextual background. Completely agree. I know that effectively the Town Council have been, not running, it's the wrong word, the event, but you personally, Town Clerk, have been integrally involved, and it's caused some friction, trying to maintain relationships. we have a superb relationship with Royal British Legion. This is the premier civic event of our civic calendar, without question. I completely agree with Councillor Matthews on the route. It's traditional, goes back, over 100 years, and we need to keep it. And the public, actually, in all my experience, everybody I know, which is quite a few people, they think the town council will arrange it anyway, not RBL. So I know that the dear people in RBL, they're great at what they do. They'd be delighted if we took it over. I'm completely in agreement that we should, in every sense of the word. We effectively do it with the road closures. The insurance is public liability. It's relatively nominal cost, but the feel-good factor and the public sort of kudos factor here is off the scale. So I have no doubt that we should be doing it. Take it, get RBL to do the pomp and the ceremony and calling to order and doing all that, doing what they do best. But we control it. The town clerk controls it, and we control it 100%. So in agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got two more questions, and I'm going to call it a day on this one because we need to move on. We've still got quite a bit to get through. So, Councillor DeBell first, please. Is it a new point?
First of all, let me apologise to yourself and to the committee for a faux pas with the microphone. I really am very, very sorry, but it just gives you a warning that make sure that your microphones are turned off. Mea culpa. I'm so sorry. I was just reading this. First of all, I totally agree with what's been said. This is absolutely vital that this must continue. It is, however it's done, it must continue. And it must continue as it has been in the past. It's a vital part of our calendar. And as an ex-serviceman myself, it is very, very important to remember the fallen. Now, I'm just reading this. It says that the Royal British Legion have been advised centrally. That's, in other words, the Royal British Legion have advised their branches that they should not be organising these events. But it goes on to say, the advice given to them is that the civic authority should take responsibility. Now, that's the key word, responsibility. And only if this is refused should RBL then organise. Now, does that mean that if we say, well, we want you to carry on doing it, that they will actually say, no, well, we won't, and there is a danger of it stopping? That's the first question. I personally think that the RBL organise a superlative event wherever they organise it every year. And I find it very hard to believe that they don't want to carry on doing it. But I feel that we should be very much in partnership, whatever I think that they should be involved in organising. It's very important that they are. But I think that we should be kind of in partnership so that we make sure that this happens. And whatever, if the street closures is the only thing, then we should deal with that ourselves as we have been doing, etc., etc. I think everybody realises what I'm trying to say. Are they saying, no, you've got to take it on, or are they saying that's what our central authority are telling us we ought to expect? And is there a way forward that we can actually work in partnership to make sure all things happen as they should do? Thank you.
Would you like me to take that, Chair?
Yeah, but we need to move on quickly. Please go ahead, Tim Clark.
Mr. Chairman, I keep putting my hand up. I'm becoming invisible. I don't know quite what's wrong with me.
Councillor Osborne, if you go to participants and use your raise hand function, then we can see
I've
you.
raised hands. I've done the cartoon hand on the computer. There's not much more I can do apart from wave everything.
Well, you haven't actually come up on participants, but
I haven't seen it.
We try and keep an eye out for you.
Surely somebody saw it.
No.
Right, if I can just respond to Councillor DeBell first.
All right, okay. Councillor Osborne, Town Clerk, please.
Right, I've forgotten where I was now. Right, the RBL have been told centrally that they are not allowed to organise a parade. They're not allowed to close a road. Sorry, they are allowed to organise a parade. They're not allowed to close a road. And in order to organise the parade of East Grinstead, they have to close the road. So that's what they've been told. If the civic authority refused to take it on, and the district council have refused, so now it's with us. If we refuse to take it on, then the RBL will still organise the Remembrance Sunday events, but they will not organise a parade as part of it through London Road and the High Street. So that part of it would go. If we take it on, then the parade can continue, and we can also look at doing things differently if we so wish, in discussion, in partnership with the RBL going forward. Hope that helps.
Thank you. I'll go to Councillor Belsey, then Councillor Osborne.
Thank you, Chairman. I think that from what I'm hearing, that if there is a risk that, well, the parade is much loved by residents and it's a vital part of the day. If there is a risk that as a result of us not taking it on, the parade does not happen, then I don't think that will reflect very well on us at all as a town council. So I think really we are taking a lot of time to decide something that is pretty straightforward here, that we certainly should take this on and continue to work in partnership with them as we always have. Thank you.
Councillor, thank you. Councillor Osborne.
Thank you. I want to put a bit of historical perspective on this, because I can tell you that years ago, if you go back to the 70s and 80s, and I've been going up there right through this period, you've got 100 people sometimes, and then maybe you've got 200. This has built up into being a major event for the town. Every aspect that the town council has included has improved it. That the fingerprint of the town council on this particular event is significant, and I don't think we should worry about spending that extra 1,000 or 1,200 if it means this major event for the town continues. And I believe that we should do it to the best of our ability and make it as, you know, within common sense and within the law. We should make it as big and as important as it can be. I mean, it's ironic, isn't it, that these we will be remembering people who gave their lives and people who were badly injured, and we're arguing, you know, and there's talk about risk and all the rest of it. You know, I find it sort of, you know, I find it a little bit dispiriting, really, and I would hope that we give this you know, the attention it duly deserves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Osborne. Yes, I think we're all in agreement. This is the most important event of the year. It attracts a huge amount of people, and you know, I think the parade is extremely important. But as I've got no other hands up, I will go to the recommendations, and that is for this council to agree to organise the remembrance events. And to item 2 is to appoint a councillor to take the lead in working with the clerk and the RBL and others to determine how the events will be delivered from 2021. Is that agreed?
Yeah. I'll second it at the same time, Mr. Chairman, if you want to second it.
Thank you, Councillor Osborne. Now, what we do need is a councillor to work with to take a lead on this and to work with the town clerk. Councillor Whitaker has very kindly volunteered to fill that position. Can we all agree on that and thank him for putting his name forward?
Yeah. No better man for the job.
That's agreed, town clerk. Thank you, Councillor Whitaker, for that. Move quickly on to item 16 on the agenda. I'll take it members have read the report there. And basically is that whether the council will have the time to consider the result of the vote, and that the vote should be postal to ensure maximum involvement in this decision. This change may mean less cost or more, and we need to consider that. And I think a proposal would be that we write to West Sussex we've got what that means now.
South Chair, the West Sussex Association of Local Councils.
Thank you. Losing the plot here. Asking for confirmation of the voting method, that we would prefer a postal vote, and either which way there has to be enough time between the proposals publication and the vote to allow the council to consider the conclusions and instruct our ballot accordingly. So do I have any questions on that one? I'll take it no. So I'll go to the vote or the recommendation.
You need to make sure you're seconded, Chair.
Sorry?
You need to make sure you're seconded, please.
I'm happy to second that, Chairman.
Thank you. So is that agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, item 17 is the Lcr Magazine. Now that's the magazine that you will find idling in your pigeonholes that never gets taken out. As you can see in the report there, for the 20 copies, that costs £270. If we wanted one copy, that would be £17. Do members ever read that magazine? Do we really need it? That is the question I will ask members this evening. Do I have any questions? Do we do away with it altogether? I think that's another seconder for that.
Sorry,
You've got a hand up in Councillor Visser.
Oh, Councillor Visser, sorry. Councillor Visser.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, never. I think we should get rid of it. I think it's laughable that we have it. The times I have tried to make the effort to read it, it's not helpful. Lots of adverts for benches and places to put notices and stuff. And I don't think we should be paying for that. If they want to give it to us for free for their advertising, fine. But there's no way we should be spending any money on it.
Councillor de Bell.
Thank you very much indeed, Chair. What was it you said that it would cost if we just had one that was available at the Town Council so that you could read it if you wanted to?
£17 per year.
Can I suggest that we go to that rather than everybody getting a copy which never gets picked up?
Well, that's for the committee to vote on. I would recommend that I don't think anyone reads it anyway, so...
Chairman, you've just had a recommendation from Councillor de Bell, so that needs to be seconded.
Ah, right, okay. I have a recommendation from Councillor de Bell. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
What was it? I didn't quite get it.
The recommendation is to take one copy per annum, which is £17, and circulate it amongst councillors. It'll probably take us 6 months to get it.
Or actually just keep it at the council officer says we can read it if we want to.
Yeah. I'll have a secondary in Councillor Edward Matthews. Can we take a vote on that? Is that agreed?
Yeah, I'll go with it.
How many is that, Town Clerk? 1,
4.
Can you keep your hands up, please?
I think I saw 4 hands. Yes, 4 hands in favour. So you need to call against, Chair.
Against?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That has failed.
Can I make a counter proposal that we don't have any the magazine at all?
Yeah, that would be the next proposal, that we don't subscribe to the Lcr magazine.
Oh, I think Councillor Visser has proposed and you've just seconded that, Chair, so you can go straight to the vote.
Okay, can we vote on that, please?
Yeah, but let's vote.
1, 2, 3,
No,
4, 5, 6. Yeah, you're there. 7, you're there. You're there.
Could have put that money in the toilet.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, we're getting there. Go to item 18 on the agenda, and I wish to put a motion that we exclude members of the public and non-town council members from this item.
Happy to second that, Chairman.
Thank you. So all that agreed?
Agreed.
You've got one member of the public left, which is Councillor Jackie Russell, so I'll place her in the waiting room for the period, and you'll be able to come back at the end of this item, Councillor. I'm also going to pause recording again. I've started recording again, and I am readmitting Councillor Mrs Russell from the waiting room.
Thank you, Town Clerk. We'll be very quick because there are no other items on the agenda, and therefore I close this meeting at 22:09, and the next meeting of the committee will be held on the 17th of December. Well, that's quite a long meeting, members. I just want to thank you all for your contribution tonight, and once again, thank you for attending.
Thank you, Chairman.